The massive dreadnought sovereigns will appear at the edge of the Sol system like a metal mountain floating in space. Its dark hull stretched 15 kilometers from bow to stern, blocking out stars as it moved. Admiral Kethfer stood perfectly. Still on the bridge, his reptilian hands locked behind his back, his yellow eyes studied the small blue planet in the distance with cold calculation. Behind his flagship, 199 other warships waited in perfect rows. Each vessel bristled with weapons that could destroy entire cities. Galactic Empire had used this same formation to conquer 847 worlds. Earth would be number 848. "Sir, all ships report ready," said Commander Velthor, his voice echoing in the vast bridge chamber. Kethfer nodded slowly. His scaled skin caught the light from the weapon displays. "These humans think they can hide in their small corner of space. They will learn otherwise. Send the transmission." The message traveled at light speed toward Earth. It carried the weight of an empire that had crushed civilizations across the galaxy. The ultimatum was simple and brutal. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, Director Minho sat in the United Terran Council's command center. The room hummed with quiet activity as officers worked at their stations. Holographic displays showed star charts and tactical information. When the alien message arrived, every screen in the room flickered to life. The image of Admiral Kethfer appeared on the main display. His alien features were sharp and predatory. "Humans of Earth," his voice boomed through the speakers. "You have 72 hours to surrender your world to the Galactic Empire. Submit now, and your deaths will. Be quick, resist, and we will burn your cities to ash." Lieutenant Hyjin, a young woman with steady hands, turned to face her commander. "Sir, the entire fleet is moving into attack position. Their weapons are charging." Minho remained calm. His dark eyes showed no fear as he watched the alien fleet deploy. Around him, his staff worked with the same strange, quiet confidence. None of them seemed worried about the massive threat hanging over their planet. "Should we begin evacuation protocol, sir?" Hyjin asked. Her voice stayed level, despite knowing that 200 alien warships could destroy every major city on Earth. Minho's mouth curved into the smallest smile. "That won't be necessary. Activate Protocol 7. Communications Officer Taesong's fingers moved across his console with practiced speed. "Protocol 7 is active, sir. All stations are responding." The words meant nothing to the Empire's listening devices. To them, it sounded like the desperate actions of a doomed species. Admiral Kethfer received reports that human ships were moving into defensive positions around Earth. The vessels looked ancient and weak. "Look at this," Commander Velthar said, pointing at the tactical display. "Their largest ship is barely 1 kilometer long. Our smallest destroyer could crush it." Kethfer studied the human fleet with growing disappointment. Where was the challenge? Where was the glory in conquering such primitive beings? Their ships used chemical fuel and simple energy weapons. It was like watching cavemen try to fight with sticks and stones. "Perhaps we should just destroy them quickly," Velthor suggested. "This is hardly worthy of the Empire's time." But something nagged at Kethfer's mind. The humans showed no panic. Their communications remained calm and organized. Even their military formations seemed too confident for a species facing certain death. On Earth, Minho walked to the center of the command room. His staff worked quietly around him, their movements careful and deliberate. Captain So-Young monitored deep space sensors, while Colonel Ji-Woo coordinated with orbital defense platforms. "All quantum networks are online," Ji-Woo reported. "The message has been sent." Minho nodded. Throughout the Sol system, ancient machines began to wake up. They had slept for thousands of years, waiting for this moment. Hidden bases on distant moons received the signal. Weapons that existed beyond current understanding powered up in secret facilities. The Empire's scouts detected none of this activity. Their sensors showed only primitive human technology and desperate defensive maneuvers. They had no idea that messages were traveling through quantum entanglement networks that operated outside normal space-time. Admiral Kethfer watched the countdown timer on his display. 68 hours remained until the deadline. He expected the humans to surrender long before then. Most species broke after seeing the Empire's full might. "Sir, reported the sensor officer. Human ships are taking position around their planet. They appear to be forming a defensive perimeter. Kethfer almost laughed. Defensive perimeter made of such weak ships was meaningless. His dreadnought alone could destroy their entire fleet. The other 199 ships were simply there to make the victory complete. But in the depths of space, far from the Empire's detection range, something vast and ancient stirred. The true children of Earth were awakening. Their patience with younger species was finally at an end. The Empire had conquered 847 worlds. They believed themselves the masters of the galaxy. They had no idea they were about to meet their makers. Data screens flickered constantly in Admiral Kethfer's command center as new intelligence reports arrived every few minutes. Each report painted the same picture of human weakness that made the reptilian commander increasingly frustrated. His intelligence officers worked frantically to understand how such backward beings had even managed to leave their home planet. "Sir, analysis of the human fleet is complete," announced Intelligence Officer Nextra, her voice carrying disbelief. "Their ships use basic chemical propulsion systems. We abandoned that technology 3,000 years ago." Kethfer examined the detailed scans on his personal display. The human vessels looked like museum pieces floating in space. Their hulls appeared to be made from simple steel alloys reinforced with basic composites. No energy shielding, no quantum armor, no dimensional displacement systems. Their flagship Terra's Hope is particularly pathetic, Commander Velthor observed, pointing at the tactical readout. 900 meters long, powered by fusion reactors, armed with plasma cannons that probably couldn't penetrate our lightest armor. The Admiral's scaled fingers drummed against his command chair. Something felt wrong about this entire situation. In his long military career, he had never encountered a species that seemed so completely outmatched, yet showed such strange confidence. How did they even achieve faster-than-light travel? Veltor continued, his voice growing more puzzled. Their ships don't have quantum drives or warp cores. According to our scans, they're using some kind of primitive jump gate technology. Meanwhile, billions of kilometers away on Earth, Director Minho stood calmly in the war room deep beneath the Swiss mountains. The chamber buzzed with controlled activity as his senior staff coordinated humanity's response to the alien threat. Unlike the Empire's frantic intelligence gathering, humans moved with deliberate precision. Colonel Ji Wu sat at her station, her hands moving gracefully across holographic interfaces that would have seemed impossible to Imperial observers. The displays showed star charts spanning the entire galaxy, with thousands of small lights beginning to pulse in steady rhythms. Ancient Protocol 7 is fully activated, Ji Wu reported, her voice steady and professional. All dormant nodes are coming online. The network that once connected our ancestors across the stars is awakening. Captain So-Young monitored communications from orbital defense platforms that appeared laughably weak to Empire sensors. The platforms looked like simple metal structures with basic weapon systems. In reality, they were far more sophisticated than anything the Empire had ever encountered. Quantum entanglement links are establishing contact with Outer Rim stations, So-Young announced. We're receiving confirmation signals from sectors the Empire believes are empty space. Minho nodded approvingly as he watched the holographic galaxy map. Tiny lights appeared on worlds that Imperial star charts marked as uninhabited. These lights represented technology that had been sleeping for 12,000 years, waiting for the moment when humanity would need to defend itself, back on the Imperial flagship. Admiral Kethfer grew increasingly concerned about the strange behavior of his enemy. His scouts reported that human ships were taking defensive positions that made no tactical sense. They spread themselves too thin, left obvious weak points in their formation, and seemed to be inviting attack. "Sir, their defensive strategy is completely irrational," reported Tactical Officer Xerthis. "They're positioning their weakest ships in front of their strongest ones. Any first-year Academy student would know this formation is suicide." Keth first studied the human fleet arrangement with growing unease. Either these humans were completely incompetent, or they knew something his forces did not. The Admiral's instincts, honed by centuries of warfare, whispered warnings that his logical mind couldn't understand. Perhaps they're simply accepting Defeat, Velthor suggested. Some species choose to die fighting rather than surrender. It's foolish, but not uncommon. On Earth, Director Minho walked slowly around the central command platform, while his staff worked with quiet efficiency. The war room's main display showed the Empire's fleet maintaining attack formation at the edge of the solar system. To any observer, it looked like humanity was preparing for a hopeless last stand against overwhelming odds. Colonel Ji Woo looked up from her station with a slight smile. "Sir, deep space monitoring stations report full activation. The Watchers are awakening." Across 17 galaxy sectors, Captain Soyoung's fingers danced across her control panel as she coordinated with defense systems that existed beyond the Empire's ability to detect. All quantum communication nodes are synchronized. "We have established contact with the Guardians on the Outer Rim." Minho's expression remained perfectly calm as he absorbed these reports. Around him, his staff showed the same strange confidence that had puzzled Imperial scouts. They worked like people who knew a secret that would change everything. "The network spans the entire galaxy," Giwu continued. "Stations that have been dormant since the Great Withdrawal are coming back online. Our ancestors' technology is responding to the call." Admiral Kethfer received his final intelligence update before the attack would begin. Everything confirmed what his officers had been telling him for hours. The humans were primitive, weak, and completely outmatched. Their fleet was a joke. Their technology was obsolete. And their defensive strategy was suicidal. Yet something deep in his warrior's soul continued to whisper warnings. The humans acted like they had already won a battle that hadn't even started. Their calm confidence in the face of certain destruction suggested they possessed knowledge that the Empire's vast intelligence network had completely missed. Minho looked at the tactical display one final time, then let them come. "It's time the galaxy remembered who we really are." The attack began exactly as Admiral Kethfer had planned. 200 Imperial warships opened fire simultaneously, their weapons creating a wall of deadly energy that raced toward the human fleet. The beams were powerful enough to crack planets and boil oceans. Mountains would turn to vapor under such concentrated firepower. Kethfer watched the tactical display with satisfied confidence. The energy wave reached the human ships in seconds, striking them with the full might of the Galactic Empire. Brilliant flashes lit up the darkness of space as the weapons found their targets. For a brief moment, it looked like the battle was already over. Then something happened that made every Imperial officer freeze in shock. The human ships absorbed the energy blasts completely. Their hulls glowed with strange shifting light as the deadly beams simply disappeared into their metal surfaces. Not a single vessel was destroyed, not even damaged. The hulls shimmered and rippled like liquid metal, but they remained intact. "Impossible," Admiral Kethfer whispered, his scaled hands gripping his command chair. "No armor can withstand that much concentrated firepower." Commander Velthor stared at his instruments in disbelief. "Sir, our weapons had no effect. The energy readings show complete absorption. How is this possible?" On the bridge of Terra's Hope, Captain Donghayan remained completely calm as his ship's hull reformed around him. The metal walls flowed like water, repairing microscopic damage while strengthening weak points. His crew worked with practiced efficiency, showing no surprise at their vessel's incredible capabilities. "Hull integrity at 100%, reported Engineer Kyumsu, his voice matter-of-fact. "Nanotechnology systems are functioning perfectly." Navigator Yuzhen checked her instruments with steady hands. "All ships report successful energy absorption. Phase transition systems are charging." Captain Donghayan nodded as he watched the Imperial fleet struggle to understand what had just happened. Their weapons continued firing, but each blast only made the human ships stronger. The energy was being converted and stored, preparing for something the Empire could not imagine. "Phase transition complete," Eugene announced. "All ships ready for displacement." What happened next defied every law of physics the Empire understood. The human fleet began to move in impossible ways. Ships phased through incoming weapons fire as if the energy beams were nothing more than light. Vessels appeared behind Imperial lines without warning. Having somehow moved through solid matter, Terra's hope demonstrated the most impossible maneuver of all. The ship seemed to fold in on itself, disappearing from one location and instantly materializing 3,000 kilometers away. It passed directly through an Imperial cruiser without causing damage to either vessel, as if both ships existed in different dimensions. Admiral Kethver felt his confidence crumble as he watched his carefully planned attack turn into chaos. His ships fired desperately at targets that refused to stay in one place. Energy beams passed harmlessly through human vessels that should have been solid matter. "How are they doing this?" demanded Commander Velthor, his voice rising with panic. "Our sensors show they're using primitive technology." The tactical officer's hand shook as he tried to track the human fleet. "Sir, they're not following any known physics. Ships don't just phase through each other. Matter cannot exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously." Deep beneath Earth's surface, Director Minho watched the battle unfold on the main display. His command center remained calm, despite the incredible events happening in space above. Colonel Jiwoo monitored the engagement with professional interest, as if watching a training exercise rather than a life-or-death struggle. The Empire's confusion is increasing, Jiwoo observed, noting the erratic firing patterns of the alien fleet. Their tactical formations are breaking down. Minho nodded slowly as he watched Imperial ships desperately trying to hit targets that seemed to exist partially outside normal space. They've spent so long conquering primitive worlds that they've forgotten what real technology looks like. "Captain." Soyoung coordinated with the orbital defense platforms, which were now revealing capabilities that made Imperial weapons seem like ancient relics. "Sir, Outer Rim stations report full activation. The Watchers are engaging enemy scouts in 17 sectors." The battle in space continued to defy Imperial understanding. Human ships moved through their formations like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will. When they fired their weapons, the energy beams bent space itself, striking targets from impossible angles. Imperial shields, designed to stop the most advanced weapons in the galaxy, offered no protection against attacks that came from directions that shouldn't exist. Admiral Kethver realized with growing horror that his intelligence reports had been completely wrong. These weren't primitive humans using obsolete technology. They were something far more advanced than anything the Empire had ever encountered. The crude-looking ships were hiding capabilities that made Imperial technology look like stone tools. "We're losing contact with forward squadrons," reported the communications officer. "Human ships are appearing inside our formations. They're not destroying our vessels, but they're doing something to our systems." Commander Velthor checked his tactical display with shaking hands. "They're studying us, learning our weaknesses. This isn't a battle, it's an examination." Minho's expression remained serene as he watched the Empire's mighty fleet struggle against humanity's true capabilities. For thousands of years, his people had hidden among the stars, allowing younger species to develop and grow. They had been patient gardeners, tending to galactic civilization from the shadows. "Perhaps it's time they learned the truth," Minho said quietly. "The galaxy has forgotten who created the conditions for their civilizations to flourish." The Empire had awakened something that had been sleeping by choice, not necessity. The decoded message appeared on Admiral Kethver's personal screen, and the words made his blood run cold. His best cryptographers had worked for hours to break the human communication code, expecting to find desperate pleas for help or surrender negotiations. Instead, they discovered something that changed everything he thought he knew about the galaxy. "This cannot be real," Kethver whispered, reading the transmission again. The message contained technical specifications for technology that shouldn't exist. Dimensional manipulation systems, quantum consciousness transfer, reality manipulation, devices. These were legends from the oldest myths, stories about the ancients who had supposedly ruled the galaxy before vanishing without a trace. Intelligence. Officer Nextra approached the Admiral's command chair with trembling hands. Her usual confidence was gone, replaced by fear that she couldn't hide. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the galaxy. Worlds we believed uninhabited are showing signs of massive technological activity." Kethver looked at the galactic map on his main display. "Oh, Red dots were appearing on planets that Imperial surveys had marked as empty wastelands. Each represented energy readings that exceeded anything the Empire had ever recorded. Signals were coming from every corner of known space. How is this possible? Commander Velthar demanded, his voice cracking with stress. Our scouts surveyed those worlds. They were dead rocks with no atmosphere. No resources, nothing. The tactical officer's hand shook as he updated the star charts. Sir, the energy signatures are growing stronger. Whatever's happening out there, it's happening everywhere at once. On Earth, Director Minho stood in the Global Council chamber, facing the most powerful leaders of humanity. Premier SEO, Jin, of the Pacific Alliance, sat beside Chancellor Yun-Su. Of the European Federation, representatives from every major nation and space colony filled the circular room, their faces showing the strain of keeping humanity's greatest secret. The time for hiding is over, Minho announced, his voice carrying the weight of 12 millennia. For too long we have watched from the shadows while younger species learn to walk among the stars. The Empire's aggression has forced us to reveal what we truly are. Premier Seojin leaned forward in his chair. Director, are you certain this is necessary? Once we reveal ourselves, there will be no going back. The galaxy will never be the same. Minho nodded gravely. The Empire has conquered nearly 1,000 worlds. They destroy everything they touch, consuming entire civilizations. If we don't act now, there will be nothing left to protect. Chancellor Yun-Su studied the holographic displays showing the Empire's fleet. Our ancestors chose to withdraw from galactic affairs for good reasons. They saw what active intervention could do to younger species. But they also left us the tools to act when intervention became necessary, Minho replied. The network they built still spans the galaxy. The guardians they placed on distant worlds are still waiting for our call. Across the galaxy, impossible. Things began to happen. On worlds that had appeared lifeless for thousands of years, massive structures rose from beneath the surface. Cities that had been hidden in dimensional pockets materialized in normal space. Ships that dwarfed Imperial dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace, their hulls gleaming with technology that seemed like magic. Colonel Jiwoo worked frantically at her station in the command center, coordinating the greatest military operation in galactic history. Her screens showed activation confirmations from outposts that had been dormant since humanity's ancestors ruled the stars. All nodes are active, sir, she reported to Minho through the communication link. The network that once spanned the galaxy is operational again. Our people are awakening from their long sleep. The first human ship to fully reveal itself was the Eternal Vigil, a vessel 30 kilometers long that materialized directly above Earth. Its hull was made from materials that bent light around them, creating patterns that hurt to look at. Directly, the ship had been waiting in dimensional hiding for 12,000 years, maintained by artificial intelligence that never forgot its purpose. Admiral Kethfer watched in growing horror as his tactical display filled with new contacts. Ships appeared from nowhere, surrounding his fleet with technology that made Imperial weapons look like primitive tools. Then the smallest human vessel was larger than his flagship, and their weapon systems registered energy readings that exceeded his instrument's ability to measure. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human flagship, reported the communications officer, his voice barely above a whisper. The main screen flickered to life, showing a human woman in a simple uniform. She appeared to be in her 30s, but her eyes held the wisdom of millennia. Admiral Kethfer, I am Fleet Commander Hay, one of the human remnant. We are the children of those you call the Ancients. Kethfer felt his legs give out as the truth finally hit him. Humans weren't just another primitive species. They were the descendants of the legendary civilization that had created the conditions for all other spacefaring races to develop. They had been watching, waiting, and guiding from the shadows for 12,000 years. We withdrew from active galactic governance to allow younger species to grow, Commander Hayone continued, but your Empire's destructive expansion threatens everything our ancestors worked to build. The Empire's mighty fleet suddenly looked pathetic compared to the awakened forces of humanity. They hadn't invaded a primitive world. They had disturbed the galaxy's sleeping guardians. The massive human fleet hung in space like sleeping giants, their weapons charged and ready to destroy the Empire's forces in seconds. Admiral Kethfer stared at the tactical display, knowing that his 200 ships were nothing compared to the awakened power surrounding them. A single human vessel could probably destroy his entire fleet without effort. But instead of the expected attack, something unexpected happened. The largest human ship, Ancient's Legacy, opened a communication channel directly to the Imperial flagship. The voice that emerged was calm and measured, carrying no threat or anger. "Admiral Kethfer," Director Minho began, his image appearing. "On the main screen, you stand at a crossroads. Your fleet could be erased from existence in moments, but that is not our way." The Admiral's scaled hands trembled as he faced the human commander. Everything he had believed about the galaxy was crumbling around him. These weren't primitive beings cowering before Imperial might. They were the descendants of the legendary ancients, the mysterious civilization that had shaped galactic history. "Are not conquerors," Minho continued, his voice carrying the weight of 12,000 years of hidden wisdom. "We are gardeners. For millennia beyond counting, we have watched younger races grow and develop, guiding them when necessary, but never controlling them." Commander Velthar leaned close to his admiral's ear. "Sir, their weapons are still powered down. They could destroy us, but they're choosing not to." "Why?" Kethfer had no answer. In his long military career, he had never encountered an enemy that possessed overwhelming superiority, yet chose restraint. The Empire's way was simple: crush all opposition, rule through fear, expand without mercy. "Your empire has conquered nearly 1,000 worlds," Minho's voice continued from the speakers. "You have destroyed entire civilizations, enslaved countless species, and spread death across the galaxy. This path leads only to ultimate destruction." On the bridge of Ancient's Legacy, Director Minho stood before a holographic display showing the Empire's fleet. Captain Soyoung monitored the alien vessel's weapon systems while Colonel Jiwoo tracked their communication networks. The humans could read every Imperial thought, predict every move, counter every strategy. "Sir, the Empire's fleet is powering down their weapons," Soyoung reported. "Admiral Kethfer is requesting permission to speak." Minho nodded approvingly. "Open the channel. Let us hear what he has to say." Admiral Kethfer's image appeared on the human screens, his alien features showing confusion and defeat. "Commander Minho, I do not understand your people. You possess the power to rule the galaxy, yet you choose to hide. Why?" "Because ruling and guiding are different things," Minho replied patiently. "Our ancestors learned that direct control stunts growth. Young species must find their own paths, make their own mistakes, develop their own strengths. We intervene only when extinction threatens." The Imperial Admiral struggled to comprehend this philosophy. But power exists to be used. The strong should rule the weak. This is the natural order. Natural order is growth, learning, and cooperation, Minho corrected gently. "Your empire has forgotten this truth. You consume instead of nurture, destroy instead of create. This is why we have revealed ourselves." Throughout the galaxy, human outposts that had been hidden for thousands of years began to make contact with local species. On worlds that the Empire had marked for conquest, ancient guardians emerged from dimensional hiding. They offered protection. Two threatened civilizations and guidance to those ready to learn. Colonel Jiwoo coordinated these operations with practiced efficiency. "Sir, all sectors report successful contact. Younger species are responding positively to our presence. Many are asking for help against Imperial expansion." Captain Soyoung monitored the Empire's communication networks. "Admiral Kethfer is consulting with his officers. They're debating whether to accept our offer or attempt to fight." Minho watched the Imperial fleet with patient eyes. "They will choose wisdom. The alternative is extinction, and even aggressive species prefer survival to pride." Hours passed as the two fleets faced each other in space. The Empire's officers argued among themselves, their voices growing more desperate as they realized their situation. Some wanted to fight and die gloriously. Others recognized that resistance was futile against such overwhelming power. Finally, Admiral Kethfer made his decision. Commander Minho, the Galactic Empire formally requests ... guidance. We do not understand your ways, but we see the futility of our current path. Relief flooded through the human command structure. Minho had hoped for this outcome, but he knew that pride often overcame wisdom in warrior cultures. Admiral, you have chosen well. We offer the same choice to all species: grow in wisdom, or face the consequences of remaining in ignorance. The transformation began immediately. Imperial fleets throughout the galaxy received new orders to halt their conquests and await further instructions. Human advisors emerged from hiding to help rebuild the civilizations that the Empire had damaged. Ancient technology was shared. With species ready to use it responsibly, the galaxy entered a new age of cooperation. Guided by the patient wisdom of humanity's gardeners, the Empire's aggressive expansion ended, replaced by careful growth and mutual assistance between species. The ancients had returned not as conquerors, but as teachers. Admiral Kethfer found himself working alongside the humans he had once planned to destroy. The transition was difficult, but the results spoke for themselves. Worlds that had known only war began to flourish under gentle guidance. The universe had its gardeners back, and the cosmic garden would bloom once more.